it's one thing that we've seen with the rise of social media is women creating these huge brands for themselves. Well, I decided to approach YouTube as a business. I came up with a schedule. I never thought in 7 years that I could post on the same date at the same day at the same time. So I did that. Yeah, even when I was like noticing that people were unsubscribing to me every time I uploaded, I enjoyed it because I enjoy the process of putting together whatever you want to put together and releasing it to the world.
Well, hello, YouTube Power Hour Squad. Erika here with a brand new interview for you. So for this episode of the podcast, I am interviewing Camille Collazo. Now, Camille has been on YouTube for over 6 years, and it wasn't until just this year in 2020 that she finally was able to crack the code on YouTube success and see results on her channel. If that sounds like something that you can resonate with, I know that you're going to absolutely love this interview. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Erika Vieira, and I am a YouTube strategist and coach, having helped nearly 500 women behind the scenes on their YouTube channel. And on this channel, I interview well-known female content creators, and together we pull back the curtain to reveal what it's really like to be successful on YouTube. So if that sounds of interest to you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the interviews and commentary I have coming your way. And also make sure you check out the description because I have a lot of additional resources for you if you are looking to grow your YouTube channel. Enjoy this interview. Mwah.
So I started YouTube back in 2013, and at the time I was just starting film school, and just so it happened I had all this equipment, and I was studying cinematography, so I was very interested in creating video, and I just wanted to give it a try because at the time I was a YouTube watcher myself, and I just thought it was a great outlet to just be creative without having any type of guidelines or barriers such as the ones I had in film school. So I just started uploading videos back then just to kind of have an additional creative outlet to just experiment with video, I guess.
Yeah, so what were you talking about on your channel at the time?
Oh my God. When I started, like, I was all over the place. So my first video was, I uploaded like a tutorial for reupholstering a chair that my cat had ruined. So I guess it was a DIY type of video. And then after that, I did like a recipe video. And then I went from that to beauty and vlogs. It was like pretty much when I say I was trying to be creative, I really mean it because I was just trying everything, just like from all over the place, from, you know, creating makeup tutorials to doing recipe videos to doing vlogs, talking about my experience in film school. It was pretty much anything I wanted to create, I created.
Yeah. And so let's fast forward a little bit because that was, you said 2013, and we're now at 2020, and you've been on, and at 2020 you're at just under 100,000 subscribers. So you've been on this journey for quite some time. When did you actually start seeing some traction with your YouTube channel?
So I will say the first 2 years, I was, like I said, all over the place, just experimenting with different things. And then in 2015, I began to delve a little bit more into beauty and makeup tutorials and hair tutorials. And I started to take it a little bit more serious. And I was posting a lot more frequently in 2015. And I did that for a couple of years. I think I got my first viral video in 2014, which was a hair tutorial. And at the time, I got a big influx of subscribers. I mean, big at the time, I would say probably 7,000 subscribers in the span of a year, which is really, really slow growth. But at the time, I thought that was a sign that I needed to kind of take it a little bit more serious and that I had potential to grow on the platform. And from that, I just kept, you know, kind of trying to grow my channel in the beauty niche. And I did that for about 3 years. And then in 2019, I kind of decided to pivot my content because I saw that I wasn't having as much growth as other people. And I don't know how familiar you are with the beauty community, but in 2015, everybody was growing and growing massively. Like makeup tutorials were, the big hits or the big hitters on YouTube. And I just kind of had enough self-awareness to understand that after 2 years, if I wasn't really growing, I needed to try something else.
Yeah. And so then what did you try?
So in 2019, I started doing commentary videos, like commentary around pop culture and celebrities. And oh man, I went a little bit to the left too, and like started to talk about race and like really complex issues, and that did not do well. I think I actually that's when I began to see my subscriber count decrease. Like I was actually losing subscribers anytime I uploaded, but I gave it a good few months trying that route, and it just didn't work.
Got it. So then you've gone through so many different transformations on your channel. This is really interesting. So then you went from beauty to talking about commentary, about celebrities and stuff, to even going even more so into very almost like political topics, race, things like that. And then you found that things just still weren't working out well there.
Yes, correct. And then at the beginning of 2020, there was something about YouTube that just kept pulling me back. And I always knew that this is what I wanted to do. I started my channel when I was in film school, and, that didn't pan out. Being, in film school, I quickly realized that it was a boys club, and I felt like I had more of a connection through YouTube. So I always kept coming back, even though I wasn't growing. I mean, it took me, I think 6 years to get to 17,000 subscribers. But I liked the process of creating video and editing and just connecting with people. And I knew that I wasn't ready to give up. So at the beginning of this year, and right as COVID hit, I was once again going to rebrand my channel and talk about getting a job, because throughout all these years that I've been on YouTube, I've been a freelance outside of YouTube, and I've lived a very creative freelance lifestyle. And once and for all, I was kind of about to leave that life behind and join the corporate world. And I actually was hired in March before the pandemic to work for Yelp, which is like, that was going to be my big girl job. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to start my channel once again, and I'm going to talk to other creators who are, not abandoning their dreams, but kind of, going into the corporate world. Then COVID hit, and I lost that brand new job.
Oh my, within weeks. So,
within weeks, I had gone through like the third interview, and I toured their offices, and I was just about to start. And that happened. So as that happened, I just kind of put a video out there talking about, I think it was frugal hacks or how to save money in quarantine. And I always go back to sharing something about my story, something that's close to me. And I thought at the time I was, obviously dealing with a lot of anxiety, and all I knew was how to create videos and how to stay busy creating videos. So I just put that video out there about frugal living, and it did really well. It wasn't like thousands of views, but I was getting a little bit more views than before, and I wasn't losing subscribers as I was uploading like it happened before. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep maybe sharing a little bit more about how I'm staying afloat in this difficult time. And it just went from there. At the time, I was also more interested in learning the actual business side of YouTube and SEO, and I was determined to make it work. This was going to be my 10th try, but it was going to be the last one, and I was going to make it work. And from there, I just really committed to it and started posting every week, and then twice a week. And I guess the rest is history.
So before that, were you not consistently posting weekly?
No, not at all. I mean, I was doing it once a week, but then I will always fall off. I will always leave, post for a few weeks and commit to it, and then kind of just, get discouraged or burn out, and then I'll stop posting for another few weeks and then get back. It was not anywhere as consistent as it is now.
Yeah, it's incredible what a mindset shift can do, especially for YouTube. Like you said, it's like you had so much happen to you in such a short amount of time. You had your dream job. You thought, this is it. My life is made. This is it. This is my future. And boom, within a few weeks, just kidding. Like we're going to play this cruel joke on you. Just kidding. And then it's like, you were probably, I can't imagine the world of hurt and pain you were in. And then it sounds like what you did is you kind of funneled that maybe into your YouTube, or you said, this is it, now or never for YouTube.
It's so weird because, I've heard stories like that before, and I never thought this was going to be my story. Mm-hmm. But in some ways, like focusing on my channel and spending all this time and energy saved me, because I was under a lot of pressure and anxiety. And I quickly, like 2 weeks into quarantine, I felt the effects of what was happening. And I kind of had to channel my anxiety into staying busy. And I knew, because I've been doing YouTube for so long, that, one video keeps you busy for a couple of days. So, in some ways that was just like what I needed to do to deal with the situation. And of course, the element of sharing what you're going through in order to connect with other people that are going through the same. And, I'm just, I guess, very lucky that it panned out that way, because it came from a place of like complete chaos and a lot of fear.
Yeah. And so then what changed for your channel at that moment when you put up that, it's a budget hacks, like the best budget hacks?
And it was like a saving during quarantine hacks.
Yeah. Very timely, very relevant. And then you said then you kind of taking things more seriously. So what did you do differently in that moment?
Well, I decided to approach YouTube as a business. I came up with a schedule. I never thought in 7 years that I could post on the same date at the same day at the same time. So I did that. I picked, a couple days a week in the time that I was gonna shoot, and I decided to also work on streamlining my workflow, because that was a big part of why I was having such a hard time being consistent. Like in the past, it will take me 3 hours to film a 15-minute video, and then I will spend 1 week editing it and just post it like at 9 p.m. when nobody was around. So I decided to just kind of put myself on a schedule and just dedicate my whole days. Like even till now, I do that. Like I wake up at 5 a.m, some days 6, and I have a set schedule. I know how long it takes me to deliver a video, and I know when I need to do it and when it needs to be posted. And I think that made the biggest difference in staying consistent, which is a big problem for a lot of people. Like if you know how long the process is going to take you, you can plan for it in a way that you're going to be able to commit to it and show up.
Yeah. How long does it take you to put together a video?
I'm still working to make it as little time as possible. So I will say 2 days, sometimes 3. I like to give myself 3 days because things do go wrong. And sometimes I've recorded videos that are not just good enough to be posted because there's some sort of technical issue. So I will say 2 days. But my last video, I made it a point to record it in 20 minutes, which is crazy for a 10-minute video. Like I have, I struggle with my accent and with the way I pronounce words. And sometimes I have to say things over and over, but I'm constantly to make it less and less time consuming. So, I give myself 3 days, but I'm working to make that happen within a day. That will be the dream if I can, plan, record, and edit in a day. That would be ideal.
How long does it take you to edit each video?
I will say, I take it pretty easy. So I will say 4 to 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I sit in front of the computer and have no distractions and don't stop, and because I use music in every single video, and that takes the longest. That's my least favorite part of the editing process, just going through music and having to pick it and make sure that the levels are right and all that.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things I just find so admirable about your story and everything you've gone through is just the resiliency of having a YouTube channel for so long, trying several different things, a lot of them not working, and still keeping with it. And so can you speak on what you did to keep yourself going in moments where your channel was not just not growing, but even losing subscribers?
I don't know. I guess I always wanted it bad enough. Like from a young age, I knew that I wanted to work for myself, and I knew that I wanted to create it. I had this creative dream life, in my head. And I come from Puerto Rico. I left my country when I was 18 years old. I joined the military. I didn't know the language. I knew that I made the sacrifice to, leave my country, leave everything behind. I'm going to go to the military and leave my, my youth there. And then I'm going to live up to my dreams. And, not just with YouTube, but even before that, like I had, like I said, I've been a freelancer for many years. And it's just the idea of, settling for the alternative for me, because I am a very creative person and this is how I thrive, was just not good enough, So I had to keep going, and I just really, really like it.
So you like it the whole even when you weren't growing in subscribers, you still enjoyed it?
Yeah, even when I was like noticing that people were unsubscribing to me every time I uploaded, I enjoyed it because I enjoy the process of putting together whatever you want to put together and releasing it to the world. And, I'm older, I'm in my mid-30s. It hasn't been like that forever. Like, we are so lucky to be living at a time where we have this access to truly just do whatever we want and put it out there. Like I said, with my background in film, my dream there was to make movies and TV shows, and I couldn't do that because somebody else decided that, someone like me or women don't have, a place in film at the time. I'm talking, 8 years ago, that's when I started film school. So I've always, I guess, because I started my channel, when I started film school, I felt like, it was so hard to have my voice heard in film school because it's such a boys club, and everything was a little bit more difficult for me. I felt very isolated and out of place. But on YouTube, I felt like I could just say whatever I wanted to say or do whatever I wanted to do, and nobody had control of that, even if people didn't like it or people weren't watching.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so incredible about YouTube. That's why I do what I do. That's why I showcase stories. That's why I help women with YouTube, because I really, truly believe it's an incredible opportunity for women. There's no barrier to entry. There's nobody telling you not to do it. There's nobody telling you what to do, how to do it. And we as women can really pave and carve our own path.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's one thing that we've seen with the rise of social media is women creating these huge brands for themselves. To me, that's always been really inspiring. And I know that, it's also for me, it's just, it was a matter of timing and finding out how to do it, because at the beginning I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. You had how many years before your channel kind of took off to learn? Like, I don't know. How many years was it? 7? How many years have you been on YouTube? 6?
It's going to be 7 years in October.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was posting without keywords, I didn't know how to read my analytics. I wasn't aware that, people don't watch all the way through. Like it's amazing to me how maybe that's why also I was so persistent, because I wasn't really paying attention to the numbers and the analytics, because that would have probably deterred me if I saw my watch time. I've gone back to look at some of my videos, and it's so sad.
Yeah. You're like, I didn't realize how bad I was actually doing because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Totally.
So what would you tell somebody who maybe is watching this and can really relate to your journey, but they're not at the end yet? They're not where you're at, where you're almost at 100,000 subscribers. What would you tell that person who feels like they've tried everything and they want YouTube, but they just can't seem to make it work?
Well, that's a tough one, because I do think, it is possible for anybody, but we also have to have a little bit of self-awareness when it comes to the content that we're putting out there. Like for me, at the time that I was doing makeup tutorials, I didn't have, and this is not to like be down on myself or anything because I'm very good at other things. But at the time, I didn't have what it took to be in that niche. And having that self-awareness is what helped me try everything else, right? So I think there's a little bit of having the self-awareness to understand whether something is for you or not. I mean, we are multi-dimensional beings and we might be good at a lot of things or might be interested in a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that you have to necessarily go for that one thing you really, really want, right? But I will say to anyone that's listening or watching, you have to just keep trying. I mean, you have to give yourself the grace and the opportunity to just keep going if it's what you want, because there is also a learning curve on, making videos, on being presentable to a wider audience, right? Because it's one thing to, yes, you have to be yourself on YouTube at all times, but there's also an element of like how you have to be on camera and be on videos. And that takes time. It takes time. Like I said, when I go back and look at my watch time from previous videos, like people were clicking off right away. That's probably why I wasn't growing, because I wasn't able to hold people's attention because my personality wasn't truly shining or wasn't commanding the attention you need to command on camera when you're, doing a YouTube video. So you got to keep going in order to learn those things and to get to that place. Some people get to upload a video and then that's it, they make it, and that's very rare. That's not the norm. I tell everybody that because, I think a lot of people also think that they're going to come on and, things are going to happen really fast, but it's just all part of the process, and you have to trust the process and allow yourself the room to grow, because your best video is yet to come. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That best great piece of content, it hasn't happened yet, and you got to keep creating and you got to keep doing it.
Yeah, I love that. So true. And so why do you think, having a level of self-awareness, and introspection on, your history on YouTube, why do you think, say, this topic that you're talking about right now, which is personal finance, why do you think it's worked so well compared to all the other things that you've tried talking about on YouTube?
I think it's because the timing, honestly, like I said, I talk about self-awareness. I know I started right as the pandemic started. So it's like, it was definitely a lot to do with timing. Personal finance is an evergreen type of niche that people are constantly, there's always going to be new people coming into personal finance and people that are taking that interest. And I think what was different, it's, a little bit of understanding how to make videos this time around and understanding everything about SEO and keyword search, but also just putting my story out there. Like I always knew I wanted to tell my story. This is why I wanted to make movies and make shows. But now I get to tell my story through my finances, through the mistakes I've made or through, how I've coped and everything that I've done to get to where I am when it comes to, being in a solid financial place in spite of everything I've been through this year. I had a $90,000 loss of income with my husband and I losing our jobs, yet, I still managed to save money and to be in a good financial place. And I think just it's a little bit of, serving as inspiration or providing that aspirational content, and then just, a little bit of the good marketing, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. I mean, timing, a lot of times in everything in life, not just YouTube, timing plays a key role, I think. I'm a huge believer in that. Timing is everything. So it just kind of like, what's that quote? Luck and preparation. Like when luck meets preparation. I always forget who said it. But I feel like for you, it's kind of like you've been preparing for this for years.
I've been
training. Yeah. Yeah. You've been training for this for years and years. And then you just, the timing of COVID for you actually worked in your favor in regards to the content that you're creating. And then almost like being forced to do something because you got let go from your dream job. All these things work together to bring you where you're at right now.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you see as the future of your channel now, given that you've recently changed your niche? Do you see yourself sticking with this niche for a while? Do you see yourself changing things, or what do you see as the future of your channel?
I think I definitely want to evolve a little bit because I think that's part of, succeeding in this platform. I would like to maybe venture into a little bit of self-development and maybe a little bit into uh, going from that part of saving money, budgeting, and understanding your finances to making money.
Mm-hmm.
Because aside from everything that I've been gone through this year and having this success on YouTube, I've been able to leverage this platform in 5 months. I mean, what I didn't do in 6 years, in 5 months I've been able to generate multiple streams of income and understand YouTube as a business and treat it as a business. And I think, again, just going back to that part of always sharing my story, I think eventually I want to show my subscribers how to make money,
Mm-hmm.
how to run a business, how to build wealth. So hopefully that's something I'm going to be able to pivot into in the future. It is very scary though, now that I have found this rhythm of posting and the types of videos that do well, to kind of go into something a little bit different, but it's a risk I'm definitely going to take in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I love this. I love the encouragement for people that maybe see your story and like, I can do it. I've been on YouTube for years, because I know there's a lot of people that have really been trying for a long time, and they haven't found their groove yet. And it's like you said, your best video is just right around the corner. So self-awareness and continuing to try is key. So we're the end of the interview, and I like to do what I call the hot seat round. So we're going to go through a series of questions that I ask everybody that's been on the podcast. So first question is, what is your number one struggle when it comes to being on YouTube?
Oh man. I'll say just time and task management, because at the beginning you have to do everything yourself, and it's very, very tough. It's tough to not only manage your schedule and your content and have to deal with brands and try to also find the time to reply to comments, and it's all of that, just having to wear many hats and learning as you go. Because a lot of times I feel like my channel took off and I'm chasing it. I'm just kind of like being dragged by it as I trying to learn how things go. Like, for example, talking about brands and like figuring out all this lingo and what all these things mean. And it's something that, in the past I've had like small sponsorships, but now it's a little bit different. So yeah, I'll say time and task management for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Yeah, definitely. Next question is, what is a favorite video that you've done on your channel?
I think I'll say that my favorite video that I've made, and especially with this niche, was why you need to get an emergency fund. And in that video, I talk about the importance of getting an emergency fund, and I share a very personal story about my dad passing away, and how that pretty much inspired or started my financial journey. And I really like that video because it's a story that I wanted to tell, and I wanted to do it in a way that was dignified, and that I wasn't getting personal enough, but getting the message across. And I had a lot of really nice comments from that video.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. And was there any video that you were particularly excited about, but just flopped and didn't do well?
yes. Oh my God. I shared this video. I think I privatized it too because I don't want it to mess up with like the average views of my channel. It did terrible. I shared how I gained 57,000 subscribers in 1 month, and it did terrible, terrible. I think it had maybe 4,000 views within a week. And the thing with my videos is that they tend to do better over time. They have a good shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my audience is just not interested in,
They don't care about your
you know,
YouTube channel.
yeah. So I was very surprised because I was really excited to share that,
Yeah.
and I thought I had really good information to share, but it didn't do well.
That's too bad. Well, maybe you can bring it back at some point, or I don't know. It's that your audience is interesting because it tells you what they want to see.
Oh, they do, and I can see that within the first hour of
Hmm.
the video too, and it's scary sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what were a couple? Maybe you've talked about it, but maybe a couple of the tips you talked about in that video that you were excited to share. Because this audience definitely loves to hear that stuff.
Yeah, right. I've talked about just picking the right niche, and in that video, I specifically talked about how I turn my struggle into an act of service, and how, when you're approaching YouTube, I think teaching channels are, very underrated, and I think they do really well because anytime you can assist somebody in their journey, I
Hmm.
think when you can gain an audience by taking them from point A to point B, you're getting an audience for life. And I understand that because I get these DMs and messages and comments all the time of people thanking me and telling me like, hey, I actually saved $500 this month because, your videos have helped me. And I think approaching YouTube with that sense of, like I said, service
Hmm.
instead of, of people that, and I know a lot of, especially for women, not to call women out, but a lot of women go on YouTube and they just want to be influencers and they want to talk about, their drinks at Starbucks and just talk about the stuff that they own. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think, what helped my growth was the fact that I kind of focused my content on my viewer, not on me.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
that's my
I
main
love
tip.
that. That's amazing. What is the biggest opportunity you got as a result of your YouTube channel?
So in the past, before I rebranded, I got to visit the Univision studios
Oh
and
yeah, here in LA here or where? Which
in
one?
Chicago.
Oh, in Chicago. Oh, okay.
And I actually got to meet a writer of like my favorite telenovela growing up, which to me that was like incredible.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
cool.
and it's funny because you've had Belinda Celine
Mm-hmm.
in your podcast before, and I met her in that trip because they got a couple of influencers from Chicago, and I was very small, nothing like compared to her, but that was really really nice. And I don't know if I can give another one, but
Yeah, give another one.
I'm currently working with like one of the biggest brands in the world, and it's an amazing opportunity and an amazing campaign, and I'm like really excited to share that very soon.
Oh, wow, very exciting. That's amazing. Well, congratulations on that. What is your superpower do you think has led to your success on YouTube?
I think it's gonna be a little bit corny, but honestly, I think my story, because personal finance is a very boring topic,
Mm-hmm.
and it can get very repetitive. But I think when I inject a little bit of my personal story via either my mistakes or things that I've learned, I think people really connect to that the most. So
Yeah.
I'll say that's my superpower.
Yeah, it's super relatable. Um, if you were to start over right now, what would you do differently?
I would have paid someone immediately off the bat to teach me how to do YouTube.
Hmm.
Like at the time when I started, I remember everybody making these videos about how to make it on YouTube. And it was all about just be yourself and post all the time. And like, I was watching women most of the time, and women were not talking about the business side of YouTube. And I wish back then I would have paid anybody
Mm-hmm.
to condense the time that I spent trying to figure things out and like Googling them and, looking at all these countless videos.
Yeah.
And it would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah, there's always investments. People always say, oh, I gotta buy the nicest camera and the newest this. It's like you're much better off investing in yourself and your own knowledge and your education and someone to basically help you out. I'm a huge believer in that,
And I
obviously.
spent so much money
Hmm.
on equipment. Like I've bought so
I
much
know, you
money.
don't have to.
I thought quality was going to take me to where I wanted to be, and it never worked. So
No.
you're You're right about that.
Yeah, yeah. And what is the number one piece of advice that you would tell somebody who is starting off, or maybe they're like you and they've been on YouTube for a while, but they're struggling?
I would say just keep going, keep learning. If you can hire yourself a coach,
Mm-hmm.
you should. It's absolutely worth it. I have invested in my education for YouTube. I've taken an interest in marketing and online marketing specifically, and I think it's been really helpful. So, it's good to be yourself and kind of go through this intuitively. But if you can hire someone to mentor you and to coach you, I honestly believe is the best thing you can do, because you'll skip that process and then you can just focus on actually creating instead of having to learn and figure it out while you're trying to be creative.
Yeah, that's a really really good point. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I mean, I love your story. I mean, I get requests from people saying, I want to hear from somebody who isn't, million something subscribers, somebody that's kind of just making it. So I'm so glad that I had the pleasure of being able to share and showcase your story. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And so, where can everybody find you if they're hearing your story and they want to check you out?
Well, they can find me on YouTube as Camille Collazo or on Instagram as Camille J. Collazo.
Awesome. And I will link your channel in the description below. All right. Thank you so much, Camille.
Thank you.
Bye.